I have quite a bit of experience with trolls, and by trolls, I mean both people who dedicate a significant portion of their lives to stalking and trying to harass and threaten me, and also those small plastic figurines with the wild hair that get popular every 10 years or so. I've definitely spent some time examining what type of person does this. Harasses people online, not collecting troll dolls. I know what kind of person collects troll dolls. Nerdy 11-year-old girls. But the type of person who harasses strangers on the internet, that's a bit more complicated. For instance, are they narcissistic, having a distorted sense of superiority? Or are they Machiavellian, aka manipulative? Are they psychopathic, lacking empathy for others? Past research has suggested that they are all of those things, known as the dark triad of personality traits, as they predict a lot of shitty behavior, plus sadistic, finding joy in harming others. But a new study suggests that it's not enough for people to have those traits in order to become internet trolls. There's no relationship, according to this study, between dark triad and trolling until you add one other ingredient that makes trolls troll: schadenfreude. As you probably know, schadenfreude is the German word for a feeling of delight or joy that one might get when passively observing bad things happening to other people. Two things about this particular definition. One is that I have always thought of schadenfreude as getting joy from seeing bad things happen to bad people. But apparently that's not necessary. Apparently there are people who get that feeling of happiness from seeing bad things happen to anyone who isn't them, which is kind of even more messed up than what I was thinking. A second thing about that definition is that the researchers take pains to highlight the passive part of their definition. Schadenfreude is finding joy in watching someone experience misfortune, but not finding joy in causing someone's misfortune, which is interesting because this study is about people who do, in fact, cause people to experience pain and misfortune. So, okay, this was all based on a survey given to 438 Redditors, about half men and half women, which is kind of impressive. And let me say up front that this study was not pre-registered, meaning that the results might just be a bit of statistical noise. So I would love to see more research done on this in the future to replicate and expand upon this. But the researchers asked the subjects about their own posting habits on Reddit, including whether or not they engaged in trolling, which the researchers did confirm. All of the subjects more or less knew that that meant intentionally provoking or harassing others to garner attention or a reaction. Then the researchers evaluated those subjects for dark triad traits. Finally, they were quizzed on two different potential mitigating factors: outspokenness, which is the inclination to express your opinion openly, and schadenfreude. Outspokenness wasn't found to play any part, but schadenfreude plus dark triad traits turned your average psycho into a troll. To measure schadenfreude, researchers asked subjects to say how much they agree or disagree with a variety of statements that touch on a number of different kinds of ways that one might feel schadenfreude. So things like, I laugh when I see others put in their place by other commenters online. I make fun of other Reddit users so they know I am in control. I mock other Reddit users because it is funny to see them get upset. And I want to hurt Reddit users who irritate me. Sure enough, they found that schadenfreude predicted trolling behaviors, which the researchers point out can be simplified to the lulz. That's a scientific term now. Doing it for the lulz is science. I found all of this particularly interesting, especially when the researchers report that the people who engaged in trolling didn't actually see it as dysfunctional, but as a vital communication tool that actually stimulates discourse. And I found that really odd, considering how much harassment seems determined to scare critics into silence. But the researchers point to this previous paper that found a number of people think trolling is acceptable behavior, especially when it's used against trolls themselves. And that's the point where it hit me that this paper isn't just about the people who troll people like me. It's also about people like me. While I don't score high on any dark triad traits, I do get a lot of joy from Schadenfreude. Remember earlier when I said that I tend to define that as when bad things happen to bad people? Well, there it is. I may not get joy from seeing random people experience misfortune like the average troll might, but I do get a lot of joy from seeing bad things happen to people who I think are awful. And that might be why I'm kind of good at what I do. Being an outspoken woman online attracts a lot of trolls, and they do tend to drive a lot of other women and other marginalized people away from their platforms. But while it wasn't the easiest thing to deal with at first, I did learn pretty quickly that I am relatively good at living with the abuse and also fighting back against the abuse by trolling trolls. Like, I get an intense amount of joy from sending screenshots of rape threats to the families of the men that send them. I love that. It's one of my favorite things. In the early days of Game of Thrones, when people still cared about that show, I'd read all the books. So I would reply to men that were harassing me by spoiling what was going to happen in future episodes. I'm that asshole that will retweet harassing tweets so that everyone who follows me can see my devastating reply. I know, it's obnoxious. And this is why, I guess, I have all of the love of Schadenfreude with none of the apathy, manipulativeness, superiority, anger, or sadism that the professional trolls possess. I'm like Angel in Buffy, or an angel, I guess. I might be a vampire, but at least I have enough of a soul to only murder bad people, and I feel a bit bad when I do it. Just a little bad. It's easy to imagine trolls as being these completely unsalvageable losers in their parents' basements, but reading through this study reminded me that it's always going to be a bit more complicated than that. We all have weak and strong traits that can be used for good or evil. Maybe if my childhood had been a bit sadder, I would be the one harassing social justice activists for the lulz. The lulz, of course, now a scientific term.